Hi guys, welcome to the Soul on Fire show. My name is Noelle Agape and I am a leading expert in health, wellness, and consciousness. I am super excited today because we're going into the mental body and we're going to talk about emotions. We're going to go deep, deep, deep into the emotional field and we're going to make you understand what your emotions are teaching you. We have a special, beautiful guest for you today. She is going to bring you so much light and so much love. She is Dr. Kimberly Wilson and she is a psychologist. She is a professor. She's an international speaker, and guys, she's going to change your life. Please, I promise you that if you stay for the entire show, you are going to be activated by the time we're done with this show. So I just want to take a moment and thank you so much for being here on the live. Thank you for being here on the replay. We have a beautiful show for you today about the emotional body. We're going to talk about how your emotions teach you through life, how your emotions are actually your beacon when you are feeling sad, when you're feeling angry, when you're feeling hurt, when you're feeling discouraged. It truly is that you're not in alignment with your purpose. And when you understand that your emotions are your true beacon to your alignment of who you are and where you're supposed to be in the world, that is when you get to dance with the universe, guys. And when you understand that you get to play, right? You get to change your vibration. You get to change how you feel. You get to co-create with God, source, the universe, and you get to create a life that you have always dreamed of. And how do you get there? That's what we're going to do today, guys. We're going to teach you how to get there. We're going to teach you how to break those mind hacks of all of those limiting beliefs that have been with you since you're a baby little child. And we're going to go into the mental body and we're going to break down anything that's old stories and paradigms that were there. We're going to give you tools and takeaways to actually do when you're at home to really understand your emotional body. And so I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful for you to be here, guys. And today, sit tight because you are in for a beautiful, magical journey of yourself. We're going to do self-exploration. We're going to talk about self-love. We're going to talk about self-empowerment. And we're going to talk about getting you to the greatest version of you. I'm going to bring on Dr. Kimberly Wilson, and she is so amazing. Guys, sit tight because today I'm just so excited for today's show. Hi, Dr. Wilson. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me, Noelle. I am so grateful to be here to meet all your audience and just share and just have the blessings that we're going to bring to everybody. So I've been so grateful to meet you.
Oh, I'm so grateful to meet you. You are a ray of light. I know that your journey is such an interesting, beautiful journey. And I know your story because we met just recently, right? We met in a beautiful business boot camp, and it was to get us to the highest version of ourselves. And within that boot camp, there was just a handful of people that just truly stood out, and you were one of them, right? And so I want to know about your journey, and please share, if it's okay, your story, because your story is so beautiful. It is truly the hero's journey, right? So let's talk about that and who you are and what you bring to the world.
Okay. So where do I start? Okay. So let me start at the beginning. So when I was 18, I decided to come into the military, but that decision to go into military came at the presence of a rape. So I was raped a couple of days as I was going to work on January 1st of 1986. And I found out that the rapist lived fairly close to me and was further traumatized by the police, who said, you know what, this is probably your boyfriend because I wasn't hurt enough. Yes, unbelievable. So I decided I needed to get out of there and I wanted to go on a new adventure. So I joined the Marine Corps, and I learned so much. I grew so much. However, I hadn't healed from that trauma. I left 1 month after that trauma. And then I got into this male dominated organization. And while I had so many mentors and so many lessons learned, I found myself burning out, trying to keep up this facade that I was okay, and trying to do more and be more, because now out of all the branches, the Marine Corps has the fewest amount of women. So in there, you had to shine or else you'd be considered lesser than. So I did that for about 10 years, got my degree at the same time that I was doing so. Uh, was actually assaulted a couple of times while I was in the military. So came out, became a therapist because I was going to getting my bachelor's and master's while I was in the Marine Corps. And just began my journey as a therapist. Consequently, got married, moved to Georgia. So I was in Southern California. And that's where I became in charge of a community mental health agency, had 2 babies. And once again, I found myself in the midst of burnout because my husband was working out of town and I was managing quite a large organization with doctors, nurses, paraprofessionals, therapists, and over a 5-county range. So finding myself burnt out again, crying in the car, no family around. And so I decided to leave that place because it just didn't serve me. I was too stressed out. It didn't serve my family. And I began a private practice. Feel free to join in and ask any questions at any time. After that point, I decided to go into private practice, working with a lot of different organizations, brought a few therapists in, grew my business, and was finding myself in the midst of burnout again because you have to grow your business. Yes.
So that word burnout's come up quite a few times with you. Let's talk about burnout and what that truly is, an emotional state, right? And I think you and I have a very similar journey where, from sexual abuse, we went into the counseling realm to heal. And then from that space, we had more that we knew we had to do beyond just the counseling realm, right? And so let's talk about burnout because you're the burnout specialist, right? And so what does that look like emotionally and physically, mentally, mental fog in your body? How do you like respond to burnout? Because that's such a big word.
Right. So it gets confused. It's thrown around quite a bit, and it can people have used it so casually just to mean like, oh, I'm tired of seeing this advertising, or I'm tired of this. But burnout, it really has that, like you mentioned, that emotional, physical, psychological toll that it takes on our body. When we talk about you begin to want to give up, you begin to withdraw, you stop caring, especially when you talk about your work environment, and then everything else gets pulled into it. The term actually applies to work, but it begins to extend out because we aren't these boxed beings where we can just be compartmentalized. It filters out to so many aspects. When we talk about emotionally, you have irritability, low depression, you have a short fuse, you get angry quickly. Sometimes you will tend to displace your aggression upon others, whereas you're really angry with your boss, but at home gets it because it's much more socially acceptable to get angry with your family than it is your boss. Physically, the way it last manifested for me, I was pre-cholesterol, pre-diabetic, pre-high blood pressure. And that's when it alerted to me that, Kim, you can't keep doing this. My body was out of alignment. And I even have a little sticky up here that says, if I'm uncomfortable, say something.
I love that so much. And so that's truly what we teach on the show is the mind-body connection and understanding. So let's talk about your emotions and the mental body and how, if you are uncomfortable, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, it is truly God, source, the universe talking to you, saying there's something out of alignment with you. And so let's talk about that and how burnout it moves you to the next level of discomfort on purpose and the lessons behind that.
Right, exactly. So when you talk about moving to the next level, it truly is you're out of alignment. A lot of times I ask people to identify and list out, and this is what I did for myself, right? So I had to consider what is going on? Why are things beginning to feel this way? And I assess like what is important to me? What is valuable? What do I truly value in my life? Then I began to examine where am I actually putting my energy?
Mm.
Does my energy output match my stated values? What I say is important to me. And that therein begins this misalignment, this lack of congruence with who you are and who you say you are and how you show up in the world. So that's when I began to really, after I did that assessment, that's when I began to realign and look at,
Mm.
why am I putting so much energy into something that doesn't even make my top 5?
I love that.
So
I love that.
how did you begin to experience that? Because since you said that we had so many alignments.
Well, I believe that, right, we dance with the universe. That's my line that I say, right? And so I believe that when we are out of alignment, our ego says, no, 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 let's do this because it's super safe here. Our ego would rather stay in anger and hurt and sadness, guilt and shame,
Right,
all of the things, than truly move to our purpose because it's not safe. So, but for
right,
me, I teach this. I live in the fear realm. Like fear just joins me wherever I go. Right.
right, right,
I believe that through our pain is our purpose. So we have to go into our pain to truly come out of it and to find our higher alignment. So how do we get into alignment? Truly is understanding and observing your life. How do I feel
right.
right now in this moment? Oh, this feels really icky. Oh, this feels torturous. This feels like anger. It feels like it's a trigger for me, right? So emotional intelligence, and this is where I want to go deep with you because this is your pocket, right? So emotional intelligence is understanding that there's a greater version of you that you can get to, but you have to get through that. And the spiritual maturity is the next level from emotional intelligence. So emotional intelligence is being the observer of your life and of what's going on, with physically,
Right.
mentally, emotionally, or energetically. The spiritual maturity is taking you through that and rising above that and getting to a different place. So let's talk about rising beyond the burnout and not be, going through the burnout because you have to
Right.
get to now you're this beautiful public speaker. You're like a public figure that is changing lives. And so am I, because we went through this traumatic events in our past.
Yes.
If we stay in our past, that's where we're going to stay, right? But if we go in too much into the future and we connect to the future energies, but we're not grounded in the present, then we're all over the place. So we have to merge the 3 timelines.
Yes, exactly. And I think one of the things that I found with a lot of the women that I work with is that it is painful to look at your life
Mm.
and look at the state that it's in. And so those are so many mini traumas because you have to accept that you made some choices to get
Mm.
there. You've allowed some of these things that happen. Now, of course, I don't mean that when people are victimized, yes, you are a victim. But a lot of times we get I was victimized several times in some work roles and really had to make some sense. Why am I deciding to go through this every day? And my
Mm.
stomach is upset. I'm
Mm.
angry. I don't, I'm yelling at my children when when I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
That's those are those cues and those clues that something is off and that we need to pull back. And a lot of times people miss the cries from their family and their friends who say,
Mm.
"Are you okay?" And we say they don't understand us, and we just withdraw within that, that protective part where we're just cocoon, and we don't allow anybody in to kind of show us the light, to help pull us
Mm.
out. So sometimes we have to draw on others, and hopefully you have those good people in your life that bring light and don't bring more darkness.
So let's talk about that. So let's talk about a support system and how important it is to have a support system. And if you don't have a support system, guys, please, follow Kimberly or, myself and please get help if you feel like you're in the darkness. How about some tools and takeaways? Like, let's do some action steps for people that are knowing that they're in burnout, right? They're in the heart of burnout. What do we do to one, break out of burnout, and two, to truly not bounce back into that space again?
Okay. So that those are really good questions. And so what I did is I actually used my Cure Your Burnout system, which is a five C's, where I look at we consider, we conserve, we create, we connect, we contribute. So I look at all of those areas and figure out what is it I need. So when we consider, we are taking an examination, an assessment of our lives in many places, in our health, our career, our family, our friends, finances. It definitely will show up in our finances, and spiritually, what is going on. And even look at the paradoxes. So sometimes we can be very successful, things can appear successful, but it can be very toxic, the process that we use to get there. So doing some assessment there, looking at our communication, looking at how we self-sabotage, or we get into that in so many ways. How do we conserve? So that's where I mentioned the values and energy exercise, and the impact of our energy. Where do we need to detach when we talk about our energy? And I mentioned time management because that is important, using that Pomodoro technique and not perseverating about things that you need to do. So sometimes I've found in the past, when I really began to examine what I was doing, it would take me hours to do the smallest task because I was so much in my head about consequences, and do I do it this way, and how do I do it just right? That imposter syndrome, that maybe I wasn't going to show up correctly or do it correctly.
Can you just, for our audience that doesn't know what imposter syndrome is, let's talk about that, because that's a powerful place to be and a place to move through, right?
Right. Okay. So essentially, imposter syndrome is this false sense that you're not good enough, that you've taken on the very worst instances of your life and you've magnified it, and you've minimized your accomplishments and your achievements. And we do it so often, and especially for women in particular, it's almost seen as something valuable to be humble, to make yourself smaller, and then you'll be nice, pretty, and perfect, and everybody will accept you, and that's a lot of times where we engage in self-sabotage. We may even seek the approval of others when we're doing phenomenal and fantastic things, but we have this deep-seated belief that we're not good enough, and that's how we show up.
I love that so much. And so did we go through, so can you say this again? It's consider, what was it?
Consider, conserve, create, connect, and contribute.
And so once you're all the way through all of those, right? Contribute. That's what rang to me. So let's talk about contributing and getting through your pain and moving into your purpose, right?
Right.
We are going to take a quick break, but we're going to talk about that when we get back, and we're going to talk about moving into your purpose, and everything that you feel in the burnout syndrome, everything that you're feeling and discussing is truly just an illusion for you to get to the next version of you, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So we will be right back, guys. We're going to take a quick break. Today's show is sponsored by my company, Noelle Agape Global, where we do all things health, wellness, and consciousness to get you to the greatest version of yourself. Stay tuned, guys. We are going to talk about the masculine and feminine energies. We're going to talk about getting to your greatest version of yourself, and we're going to give you tools and takeaways. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be right back. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Thank you so much for being on the Soul on Fire show, where we are igniting your passion within. Today, we're talking about your hero's journey and navigating your hero's journey to get you to the greatest version of yourself. We're talking with beautiful Dr. Kimberly Wilson, and she is showing us how to work with the emotional body and the mental body to get you through burnout, to get you to the greatest version of yourself. And through your pain is your purpose. Dr. Wilson, thank you so much for being here. So tell us now, when you're through the burnout phase, and like you've taken us through the beautiful 5 core that gets you through that. let's talk about your purpose and how your pain is showing you how to get to your purpose and how to move through that in your life.
Okay. Thank you so much to give me the opportunity to speak to that. And pain can be such a motivator to either debilitate or motivate you to the next level. I mean, we've seen it. You're a therapist, I'm a therapist, and sometimes it can be incredibly debilitating. But when you look at that pain and you use it to, I've seen people take their tragedy and turn it into a hero's journey, as you mentioned, by identifying what were their needs. When you heal yourself, you find the ability to teach others how to heal. You feel compelled. It doesn't allow you to keep that to yourself. Once you find that joy and you get out of that darkness into the light, you want to walk others through that, and someone else can't give it to you. So that vision has to come. It comes internally, intuitively, when you connect to whatever you call your higher power. For me, it's God. For others, it's another spirit, whatever you decide to call it. When you make that connection and you begin to spend some time and asking, what is my purpose? What is it that I'm here to do? And it's so difficult for people to just, when I've asked people to sit still for 3 minutes, it can become torturous for them to just sit still and really to receive the messages and to quiet your mind. I know for me, it took about 3 weeks to really be able to sit still and meditate and even pray, because many times I would do it and then it was like, did I turn off the light? Did I did I send this bill over? And so you have to practice. And when you talk about trying to find what your purpose is, through prayer, through finding out what you're good at. What do people come to you for? A lot of times, others, not that they can tell you what it is, but a lot of times people will see it in you and they gravitate to you for that. Have you experienced that as well?
I have, and how I describe it is your state of excellence, right? You can be really good at a lot of things, but your pocket, like your purpose, is your soul. Like it lights you up, it sets you on fire. Like I knew, right? I knew that I wanted to help people. I wanted to be in the world and be global. And I was a therapist, and from there, I knew I needed to go into the wellness aspect. From there, my spiritual journey began, and that is where it was like, that is where the burnout becomes, right? Whether the entrepreneur journey or not, because you're truly, that is when it's like you get tested and you're like, okay, is this really what you want to do? But that fire inside of your soul that that you just can, I could talk about quantum anywhere, anytime. You can put me on any stage, any show, and I could talk about the quantum. I could talk about your soul. I could talk about the mind and body connection. I knew within my soul, that's who I was. That's my excellence, right? I could build a business. I'm really good at building a business. I'm really good at a lot of things. Right. But my pocket and my soul gets lit up when I talk about the quantum, right? So let's talk about that, and like the soul's journey when you're going through the burnout, and how so often when you have the imposter syndrome, or you have fear, or you have hurt, or you have anger, you have guilt and shame, you have all of these core beliefs from when you're a child, right? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about healing the inner child, but then moving into your future self and tapping into that, because it's so important.
Right. And one of the things that I always ask my clients to do is to begin to notice, because I kind of take them with baby steps through this, because everything has become so automatic that you don't even realize that you have this troll on your shoulder that that continues to tell you all these really terrible things, right? She's like, oh, you're not good enough. Why are you even trying this? You need to sit down. You don't know what you're talking about. Whatever your troll is telling you. Like my troll is Melissa. So, so sometimes you say, go away, Melissa. It's time to focus. So I take them in baby steps and say, I want you to notice when your mood shifts. Because our emotions are sometimes the biggest cues that there's some dis-ease, in that mind-body connection. And then once you begin to notice, okay, yes, my mood did shift. What did my mood shift? What am I feeling right now? You learn the feeling, and then what am I telling myself?
Mm.
Or what is Melissa, if you have already named your troll, what is she telling you? And does she even know what she's talking about?
Mm.
So you have to talk back to her and create new statements to create that paradigm shift, or else you're going to keep listening to her because she's so loud, and it's hard not to listen to something that's in your ear. So when we talk about the people, you were talking about a support system and those who are around us. If
Mm.
we're surrounded with this negative energy and negative people, and even our little troll, that's what we're filled with. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so hard to get to our purpose and our passions when we are filled with all of this negative energy.
I love that. I love that so much. So just as much as you can have a troll, as you say, Melissa, right? I think that what I also do is I have an alter ego. And so before every single show, before every time I get on stage, I listen to Feel This Moment by Pitbull and Christina Aguilera, and I jump into my circle of greatness, and I become a different version of me right before I go on camera. I become a different version of me. And so just as much as I have, that inner child or that troll that you say that's like, your ego, I also have my higher self. And so
Yes.
it's the dance between the higher self and the ego, right? And so
Right.
let's talk about that dance between finding the balance between your highest self and your ego and making the conscious choice, because they're always both going to be there, right?
Yes.
So what's the choices that you make on a daily basis, of the choices that how you treat your body, how you treat yourself, the people you surround yourself with, the energy you surround yourself with, like you said. Let's talk about choice and how that is such an important integral part of everything that you do.
Right. And it's so interesting that you said your higher self and that dance between them, because for me to make that shift sometimes between listening to the troll and my higher self, I do a dance. I do listen to music to kind of shift me into that good energy. And oh, you do the same. And to remind me, it starts those good feelings for me, so that I can access, that super ego where I just want to do good, and I'm confident, and it's not about me. It's about how I impact the world and what I can give, and how I can support others. So I don't have time to be concerned about my little insecurities. It's not about me. Get
I
over
love that.
myself.
I love that so much. And so this is a big one, and this comes up for me, and I wonder if it comes up for you as well. But when people are always like, "No, you have to talk about," you talk about all the time about getting to service. You get to service. So how, when people are in that negative vibration, they can't actually get to service because it feels very resentful because their cup's not full, right? They feel like, how am I supposed to help someone when I'm depressed every day and I can't get out of bed and I'm in burnout? What they don't understand is that it's truly changing the vibration when you move yourself into service, right? So let's talk about that and how to actually raise your vibration to move into your higher self. Because if you're in that pocket where you can't see that there's something better for you, what do you do? Like, what would be some tangible steps for people to do?
Right. Oh, well, like I said, so one of my tangible steps, I said, right, is I put on music that motivates me.
I
So
love
that's one of the things that absolutely makes me feel good. Another thing that I do is I connect with nature. It
that.
has such a healing power for me, and water is my absolute. That's my true healer. But when I can't get to water, it's the birds, it's the trees, and mindfulness, and really being able to tap into the energy of the world rather than just what's in your head and what's going on.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying to think of another thing.
I think that those are such beautiful things, right? You connect with nature. We are nature, and truly, truly, just dancing. I love that because music has such a beautiful vibration. One of the things I teach is what ignites your soul, right? Whether it's petting your dog or meditation, whatever it is, meditation. I teach meditation, but it doesn't have to be sitting there going, "Oh," right? Meditation could be hiking. Meditation could be, you going for a drive with the windows down and the music blasting,
Right.
whatever it is that like sets your soul on fire. Another life hack that I teach is change your environment. So if you're in the monkey mind and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so worried, I'm so nervous, I'm so sad, go get a glass of ice cold water, because your brain can't literally handle, you have to drink at the same time. The ice cold water changes your neurotransmitters, and then get outside, just like you said, right? Like go change your environment, because your brain can't handle doing two things at the same time. And that's a great life hack. Let's talk about the divine feminine and the divine masculine energies in burnout, right? And how the masculine energies show up in burnout, and how the feminine energies, not male, female, because we all have masculine and feminine energies within us. When we're just in burnout, how I know that the male brain is very, very different than the female brain, and male emotions are not, we are very different. So let's talk about if a male was in the male energies were in burnout and the female energies are in burnout.
Okay. And I'm sorry, my sound went out for just a second because I shifted. Could you repeat that last part? I think you said when the male
Sure.
energies.
I guess in layman's terms, the difference between when men are in burnout and when women are in burnout, and what are the symptoms, and what does that look like, and how do they get out of it? Do they handle it differently? So talk about that.
Yes. Okay. So for women, it tends to more so manifest. We tend to do more. We tend to take on more when we're in burnout. And I've seen women who are, I like to say, the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. They will help their parents with taxes. They will pay somebody's bills. They will do everything at work. They will take on more tasks than necessary. They will participate in the church fundraisers and have no time for themselves. And they're there for their children, and they're doing so much more. So it's not just, it's work and all the other stuff. For men, where I've seen it manifest more so, is they become a lot more consumed with work and whatever role that they more identify with, whether it's the father role or the son role. But they get so engrossed in those roles, and then they do so much that they become indispensable. And then others begin to, what's the word I'm looking for? They enable others, if that makes sense for you.
Yeah. I've seen that a lot too with it's men go into overdrive, right? They go into the wounded masculine, and it's the grind and the massive, and the women, they retreat, and they don't know how to, they either go into their wounded masculine, they go into overdrive, or they just break down and they cry, and they don't know, they become codependent, right? So
Thank you. Yes, codependent. Exactly.
It's such a toxic cycle, right? So let's we're going to take another quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to actually talk about what it looks like physically, like in your body, what it looks like in energetically, what it looks like in your world if you're in burnout, and then truly what you can do to get out of burnout, right? You and I teach this, and we come from a place of wellness, not from a place of scarcity. And so we're going to come back, and we're going to actually show you what it's like when you are in burnout. But we will be right back, guys. Hi guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for being on the Soul on Fire show. We're igniting your passion within. Today we are talking deep about the emotional body. We're talking about burnout, and we're talking about what that looks like, emotional burnout. We are here with Dr. Kimberly Wilson, and she is going deep into your mind-body connection and understanding what it looks like in the physical when you are in burnout. Hi, Dr. Wilson. Thank you for being here. You've been so great. In the first segments, we talked about what it felt like to be in burnout. We talked about the different types of personalities that actually what happens when you're in burnout. But now let's talk about some physical traits that actually show up in your reality when you're in burnout.
Right, right. So I already talked about some of the medical maladies that will tend to show up when you're in burnout. Physiologically, you may begin to see that your heart rate increases
Mm,
some, right? You may begin to see that your nervous responses begin to activate. Some people fidget, some people bite their nails. There'll be stomach gastrointestinal distress
mm,
for some people, some and bowel issues many times. A lot of times they will overeat. That's often a challenge for me when, so I know that when I'm eating a lot more than I normally do, that's one of my cues that, oh, you're beginning to experience a little distress, a little burnout. Um, Sometimes people will have begin to have problems with their nervous system, their veins, um, uh, distress, their eyes. So all of
mm.
the musculoskeletal system, their muscles will begin to tighten, and those are really some of the main triggers that something's going on. Jaws will tighten,
Mm.
especially when they're experiencing burnout and distress, and it just goes on and on. It's a general feeling of dis-ease in your body. So
Mm.
when you say disease, it's dis-ease, and so you'll feel that discomfort. A lot of times, you can even experience it in your joints sometimes.
So it truly is, I think that the toll is like 87% of any disease that is out there is from stress and hormonal imbalance in your body, right? And so
Mhm.
let's talk about the mind body connection and how meditation and prayer has changed my life. And those of that don't know, I had anxiety my entire life. I got a divorce, and then I went on medication very, very shortly after my divorce, because my mom had cancer, and it was just this crazy. I actually literally have not taken a pill in 15 years because of
Oh,
meditation, because
beautiful.
of the mind body connection, because of the work that I do. And I don't have anxiety. But I teach this. So what are some key takeaways, like breathing techniques or some things that our viewers can do to calm the monkey brain? I call it the monkey brain, right? I teach the square breath. I teach them how to reconnect to their body and their mind. What are some things that your clients go through, and some testimonies of the differences that they've had after they worked with you?
Okay, so let's start with some of the takeaways. I really like to teach people belly breathing, and so
Mm,
because it's so easy to identify when you're doing it correctly. So I have them put one hand on their chest and one hand on their tummy, and ask them to breathe in, because most of the time when people breathe in deeply, they are breathing into their chest, right? And
mm,
that's you can only get so much into your chest, but when you breathe into your belly, you'll feel your belly rise.
mm. I did. I just felt that. That's great. Yeah. And it allowed me to pause and be in that moment. I love that so much.
Yes, exactly. And do that a number of times, and that brings more oxygen, it brings more awareness. And just being able to do that, if you can do that at your desk. For
Mm,
a few minutes, you can take a pause and just take a couple of deep breaths, get some oxygen into your brain, and get some clarity around the situation. For those that may be at home with children, and maybe you're feeling burnt out at home, get bubbles, because
mm.
one of
We
the
like
things
that.
that when you're blowing bubbles, you it's a very measured breath. You can't just you have to take in that breath slowly, and then you release it slowly, right?
I
And
love that.
you get the beautiful presentation of bubbles around. If you have young kids, they're enjoying it. You're
I
getting
love
the
bubbles.
yeah, I love them too. And you're making them happy. You're feeling the joy. The room is filling with joy. That that is just, it brings about beautiful energy. Go out and if you don't mind the grass, I love nature. Go
Mm,
out, take off your shoes, stand in nature. If you can
mm,
stand in the grass, You may want to look down at the grass before you before you pick your spot to stand in. Connect with nature somehow. Touch it. They have the beautiful peach groves where I am, and so when I'm walking through it, I like to go through and sometimes touch and smell the peaches and get some of those tactile sensations. One of the things I also ask them to do is to try and do something for all of their senses, olfactory, smell. So sometimes it can be, it doesn't have to be essential oils, but you could use essential oils with lavender or favorite perfume.
Mhm.
I
I love
have
that idea.
I have something that my grandmother wore, so I still smell that to sometimes
Mm,
try and get the scent. The scent is long gone, so
mm,
it's all in my mind, but it keeps me close. So and one of the things that I didn't mention is that my mission is to help cure 5,500 women of burnout in honor of my grandmother. Um,
mm,
so that's why I mentioned that. So olfactory. So we said visual, find things that are pleasing, sometimes even just removing clutter, because that can be so disruptive to our minds. If we can just have a space that's visually appealing for us, and even if it's filled with things, but if it's filled with things that you love, things that are good, things that inspire you,
mm,
that can make a difference for burnout. Even if you just go in there for 5 minutes a day, it's 5 minutes with everything that you love. So I said visual, olfactory, smell, tactile, and kinesthetic.
mm,
So for those, some people absolutely hate exercise, but it does so much for your body. But if you don't want to exercise, just stretch. Just doing some
mm,
basic stretches and getting your body moving. So activating all those senses can really help to begin to alleviate burnout. And I want to ensure that people uh, a lot of times people like to have destination relaxation, right? They do that. They do that one thing twice for 2 weeks a year, and they feel like, oh, this is going to make me feel better. But you jump right back into the same situation.
you have to
It
have
needs to be
tools that you leave with, right?
correct. They have to be things that you integrate regularly in practice. So you don't have to do them all. Find one or two things that you love and do those. I tell people, even if it's getting a apple slice and dropping it on the ground and watching the ants eat it and tear it apart, that that can just be so absorbing and it takes your mind off of your problems because you're watching nature in action. So as you can say, I just love nature. It is my place. And so those are some of the things that people can do to really begin to make some shifts and changes in their lives and kind of beat
I
burnout.
love those so much, and I think even one more that I might add is just going to do something that's not for yourself, right? So take yourself out of you and focus your energy on someone else, that someone else that needs you a little bit more than anything. And so, um,
Giving.
yeah, I love that. I love that. So let's talk
Could I
about the
add
power
one
of
thing to
giving.
giving?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, I want to.
You can add
So when
anything you
you're
want to giving. Giving is my soul's.
yes, when you're giving, it's important to ensure that it's not giving that is quid pro quo, meaning
Mm,
that you're giving to get.
mhm.
It needs to be something that's coming genuinely from your heart. It and that it makes you feel good. You want to serve someone else, not so that you can get them to do something for you.
I love that. I love that so much. And so when you give from your ego, that's what's going to come back to you, right? When you and so I truly believe in the law of cause and effect, and everything that you put out to the universe comes back to
Yes,
you. And so many times in burnout, and this is what we have about 10 more minutes. So I really want to go into this because I think it's important. But so many times in burnout, it is the overgivers, right? It is the people that overextend, or it is the person that is trying to prove themselves, right? And so
yes,
it is truly an egoic state of mind when you're in burnout, because you're either trying to accomplish something because you have the imposter syndrome where you don't feel good enough, and or you're the people pleasing, right? And so there's never a moment in burnout that you're balanced, right? So let's talk about that, because those are two, in our field, those are two extremely important things that we work with a lot. We work with people pleasing, and we work with, not good enough. So the overachiever that, and let's look at those specifically, because it's really important. There's so many people in everyday life that have the people pleasing, and or that they don't feel that they're good enough.
Right. And when you talk about the people pleasing, it's important to understand that they're coming from a place of external validation. And that is so difficult to receive, external validation. I know that I experienced that today for myself with my partner. I did something and I was expecting, oh, it's so great. And it was, well, you should have done it this way. and I was just like, and I was like, okay, we'll get off. It's like, well, you seem mad. And it's like, well, I wanted you to be happy with what I did. And so I realized I gave my power away again. Why did I do that? I was happy with what I did. And when you focus your efforts on getting those kudos from other people and making them happy, we absolutely cannot make other people happy or be pleased with who we are, because sometimes they're not even pleased with themselves, and we're not even that important to other people.
It's true. One of my dear friends says to me all the time, they say, the person that you thinks about you the most is truly not really thinking about you. They're thinking about themselves and what they have to do in their day, right? And so you said so many key tips right there, right? And so even in our profession, even if with our wealth of experience, we still go through the imposter syndrome. We still go through burnout. We still have moments where life, it gets crazy. Yes. Some things that I do is I stop. I mean, when in surrendering, that was a big journey for me, because I'm the type A athlete that I had the imposter syndrome, right? I had to do everything right. I did everything that everybody told me to do. And my soul was like, nope, that's the wrong way. That's the wrong direction. So pausing, surrendering. Let's talk about the beauty of surrendering. I never would ever take a nap in my entire life. And now it's like, if I need to go meditate, I stop and I pause, right? And so let's talk about when things are out of your control and just surrendering, because it's like that monkey that's clutched on. And as soon as the monkey lets go, like everything releases, right? And so energetically, we teach energy on this channel. As soon as you release the energy, 90% of the time it shows up, right?
Right. So that was during the pandemic, and I go back to this, it was a time when I think for the first couple of weeks, it was like therapists were so popular, therapists and coaches, everybody needed us. And I found myself where I was getting about 4 hours of sleep. And then I just said, oh no, this is crazy making. And I began you talk about pausing. I put in 2 hours in my day. Nothing happens but me. This is my time, whether I decide to walk or cook or sleep or meditate or read. This is mine. This is my sacred time. So I had to do that, because I was no longer functioning at my optimal performance. Nor was I even able to serve people as much as I wanted to, because I didn't have the emotional reserve to do so. I wasn't replenishing myself. So I wasn't able to give. I thought I was giving, but I know I wasn't giving as much as I could have had I not, until I started to pause again. And part of that troll, that Melissa, she was telling me that you can't stop. You can't stop. So many people need you. You have to be there. They want you to work that. So I was also doing some crisis work. They need you to work. They need you. No, I've got to pull back. I need to stop. I need to smell the roses so that I can be my best self. So that's what I did.
Well, let's talk about boundaries because that is a huge component of burnout, right? And so how your energetic, your emotional, your physical boundaries are pushed, and that's when you get to burnout, right? And so let's talk about boundaries because it's such a huge component of burnout, right?
Right. And so many people have, uh, so many people come because, absolutely because of that, because of boundaries. They've allowed people, so you have rigid boundaries, enmeshed boundaries, permeable boundaries. And, you know, what you want is where there's a give and take. But so many people just allow people to come into their space, and they'll do whatever they want and not even consider what they need. So a lot of time I've seen people defer their dreams, defer their needs, put aside medical appointments, and that's so many times how they tend to get into serious diseases because they're so busy at taking care of other people and not meeting their own expectations. They even begin to tell themselves that they no longer need what they need. And those
Mm.
boundaries, especially financial, that can come with. I've seen people go into credit card debt to support someone else,
Mm.
and still have their bills late.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Go ahead.
And so I love that so much. And boundaries is truly just self-worth. And so if it goes back to put your mask on first and then put your child's mask on, right? And so it's never your responsibility ever to take care of someone emotionally, right?
Right.
Even if you have children, you have to teach them to learn and understand their own emotions. It's never your it's your responsibility for how you act, how you respond, and the boundaries that you put on your life. And so if something is a discomfort for you, you have to lean back and say, this is no longer working for me. And people, when you have boundaries, you have lack of boundaries, and then you put them up, will actually push back, right? Because they're so comfortable with you enabling them, right?
Yes.
So we have a few more minutes left. Let's talk about enabling, because that's really important. And then I want you to go into how, what are you doing and how people can find you. But it's the last component is enabling. Let's talk about enabling, because if you don't have boundaries and you are enabling someone and you're not having enough self-love to stand in your own power and allowing them to stand in their power, that's when burnout happens often too, right?
Right. And the simplest way that I explain enabling is when you're putting in more effort to support and help someone than they are.
Mm.
And a lot of times, parents will find that, especially when you have adult children, and you're helping them to do this, and you're following up with them, and did you do this, and did you do that? So it you need to teach people to fish rather than to fish for them.
Mm-hmm.
and and so you want people can't grow if you do something for them. That's something we do with parents, what we do with leaders. When we talk about burnout, a lot of times you'll see leaders who will get promoted to the next role but continue to do their old role because they don't want the other person to stress out. Oh, well, I already know it, I know how to do it. So the other person, like, well, okay, great. I don't have to do it. You don't have to learn the skill. The other person doesn't need to learn the skill if you're going to continue to do it for them. So you're stunting their growth. When you enable people, you are stunting their ability to rise, to come to their higher self, to be who they are. You're preventing. So you're not helping them. You're actually hurting their development.
I love that so much. Wow, that was so powerful, Dr. Wilson. Thank you so much. There was so many gold nuggets in there. So what are you working on, and how can people find you? And if you need support, guys, and if you're in a place that you're lost, if you're in burnout, if you're scattered, if you don't know how to function in your life, she is an expert that travels all over the world, and she's a professor at Northwestern, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Yes.
so she can change your life, guys. Please connect to her if you need support. What are you working on, and how can they find you?
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram, and you can find me at drkimberlywilson.com. That leads to all my socials. Right now, I'm doing individual coaching. I'm going to start a group coaching program pretty soon, in about the next month. So people can get a free discovery call. I want to offer that to your whole audience. With you go to my website, you can get a free 30 minutes and we can talk about what's going on for you and
And
come
I'll
up
link
with some
that below.
strategies.
I'll link that below for you.
Wonderful. Yes, we can give them some strategies to go forward and do great things.
What are some things that they could look forward to on the other end of working with you?
Well, what I've been told that people get the most of, they've really been surprised how free they feel at the end of our journey, because people have been so, I almost want to say in shackles. They've been in shackles to this lifestyle they've created, where they couldn't even enjoy the life that they've created, that they've worked for so hard. So what I've heard the most of them, that they finally enjoy their life and they are building new connections and enjoying people around them. They can spend time with their kids, they can spend time with their spouses, and they feel free to do so.
Well, you are a gift to the world, Dr. Wilson. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your gifts with my audience, and for truly sharing your gifts to the world. We are blessed to have you on this journey with us. Thank you for being here.
And thank you for inviting me, and thank you for your audience.
Well, we'll connect very, very soon, and we have a lot more work to do together, but we are blessed to have you. So thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you tremendously.
Thank you.
Wow, what a powerful show, guys. That was amazing and wonderful. Dr. Wilson brought so many gold nuggets. Go back and follow her. I will put the links below. It's KimberlyWilson.com. I will put the link below. Guys, if you like these videos, please like and share and subscribe, because this is at Noelle Agape Global. We are truly, truly, truly here to help the world. We're here to help humanity. We are here to get you to the greatest version of yourself. And we are absolutely here to change your life. What a beautiful gift that we have had. We get to understand the emotional body and how in burnout we are not living the greatest version of ourselves. We get to understand that with choices, we get to make a better version of ourselves. And when we are the best version of ourselves, we actually pour love into our family. We pour love into ourselves. We get that in return. We also learned that when some symptoms of when fatigue, brain fog, stomach, working with your gut, that there is not, when you're not healthy, it shows in the physical body. So if you are feeling burnout in any way, please go talk to Dr. Kimberly Wilson or go to noelleagape.com. If you want to go even further and you want to go deep into the mind-body connection and you want to join me on a beautiful adventure of the mind-body-soul connection, we are going to Tulum in August, and we are going to change your life, guys. It is such an incredible journey. It is we're going to tap into the mind, the body, the soul, the spirit. And if you're feeling burnout, if you're feeling stressed, if you're feeling overwhelmed, and you're feeling like your relationship is just stagnant, come on this retreat and it will trigger you. We will activate your soul. We will reignite you, and we will teach you tools and takeaways to work with you and your burnout and actually get into the greatest version of yourself. You are more powerful than you ever know. And I need you to understand, guys, that this truly is a journey. And when you start to observe your life, and when you start to see, oh, this feels good. Oh, this doesn't feel so good. This feels, and you start to dance with the universe. You start to understand that the universe is talking to you all day, every day. It is showing you to move into your greater version of yourself. It is showing you to move into your power, and it is showing you how magnificent you are. You are more powerful than you will ever know. I love you guys so, so, so much. And thank you for being on this journey with us. You are beautiful. You are powerful. You are light. If you need more support, please go to noelleagape.com. We have free activations for you. We have tons and tons and tons of meditations. We have things that tools and takeaways that can change your life. I love you, and you are more powerful than you'll ever know. Thanks for being on this journey with us.